Welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Mindy Fee from the 37th District, and we're here at the Bollman Hat Factory in Adamstown, Pennsylvania, a staple of the 37th District for many, many years. Don Rangione, from the CEO and President of the company, is here joining us today, and we're going to do sit and chat a little bit, find out all about the factory, and then go on a factory tour a little later. Hi, Don. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
You bet. It is the oldest hat factory in America, correct?
That's correct. Yep. We were founded in 1868 right here in Adamstown, Pennsylvania. Originally diagonal from where we are today at an old whiskey distillery in the
From whiskey to hats.
That's right. Yeah, in 1871, the property was bought here by George Bollman, our founder, and we've been here ever since. Since 1868, as I said, this is our 145th year.
Your 145th year. So tell me, how do you stay so successful through all those years?
Well, we've been surviving more than thriving in some of those years, to be honest. But I think it's a great testimony to the culture that we've built here, which is really an employee ownership mindset. We have an employee ownership plan, so all of our U.S. employees become owners of our business after they've been with us for 6 months. And I think that mindset and that culture is really what's helped to perpetuate our business, where people really care about what they do, as you'll see on the tour, and do their best every day to create the best quality product and service our customers.
Absolutely. I think when you're part of a company where you can be part of the ownership of it, it does. It make people care about things. And tell me about some of your employees. I know when we walk through the halls to get to this room, you know, on the walls were so many people that have served a number of years with the hat company. So tell me about the employees a little bit.
Well, we've been blessed with longevity and loyalty from our employee owners. We've had 13 employee owners who've been with the company for 50 or more years of continuous service, which is really a testimony to the company and the culture. Very rare that people work for the same company for 50 or more years. So we recognize those 13 employee owners with a hall of fame that we've created in the company. But we have employee owners who are third, even fourth generation who've worked here and are quite proud of what they do and want to continue this heritage.
That's great. And how many employees do you have?
Today we have 285 employees worldwide, about 200 of which are based here in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's great. So tell me a little bit about what you do. I mean, I know it's the hat company, but tell me about the different lines and about the actual product.
Okay. Well, we have 10 different brands, most of which we own, one of which we license. Those brands are Kangol, Helen Kaminsky, Bailey, Ignite, Betmar, Pantropic, Country Gentleman, and so those are some of the brands that we sell under. We also do private label for many other companies like Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop and Orvis and Rag & Bone, a fashion brand. Polo Ralph Lauren was one of our private label customers. So that's some of what we do here in terms of how we sell the product. We sell in 77 countries throughout the world. About a third of what we sell is produced still here at the factory here in Adamstown, Pennsylvania, where we make wool felt hats, very vertically integrated. We start with raw wool purchased right in Southwest Texas. We scour it at our San Angelo, Texas scouring plant, and then bring it north where we do blending and carding and felting operations. We also make fur felt hats and straw hats. So here's an example of a fur felt hat.
Fur felt hat. Oh,
and
it's
we
beautiful.
bring that body in from Portugal, and we do all the blocking and trimming. This is the example of a wool felt hat made with that vertically integrated process that I mentioned. And here's an example of a straw hat, which we also make here. These happen to be all men's hats, but we do hats for men, women, and children.
Okay, I was going to say you do women's also, because as I go around, I see some of the beautiful hats that you have.
Yeah, about 70% of what we do today in finished hats is for men, and about 30% for women. But we also make the foundation of the hat called the hat body or cone that we sell to other milliners who will block it for women's hats as well.
Okay. Tell me something that's very important is America Made Matters, and you helped found that. Can you give us a little bit of a picture of what that looks like?
Absolutely. On July 4th of 2009, we launched America Made Matters, and today we have nearly 200 members who are all manufacturers that are at least producing some of what they sell in the United States and are passionate about continuing to promote jobs in the U.S., strengthen local communities, the national economy, create a safer product, help the environment by not transporting the product all the way across the world if it's made in Asia, as many products are today.
And they're nationwide.
That's right. We represent 39 states in the U.S. now with our 200 members. So this is a passion of mine to try to keep U.S. manufacturing in the United States, something instilled in me when I was young by my father, who worked as an overcoat cutter after returning from World War II. We're about to launch America Made Matters Day on November 19th. This is the inaugural event, something that we plan to do every year, and what we're asking is every American to buy at least one thing made in the United States on November 19th, and then continue that through the holiday shopping season.
Well, that's a perfect thing. Is there, do you put certain labels on so people recognize the products, or how do they?
Yep, that's right. We have, this is our logo, America Made Matters.
Okay.
Most of our members are using this logo either on their packaging or on their products. So the products that are made here, in almost all cases, unless a customer would say they don't want it for some reason, have this tag on it. I've been in Tokyo, Japan, where I saw this on one of our hats, and I said, how does this work over here?
Yeah, I was going to
And
say, what was the reaction?
This is great, because people in Japan are very passionate about Western brands and authentic American brands.
Oh, okay.
And so this is actually a very positive thing, even outside the U.S. But this logo is now being recognized by U.S. consumers, and hopefully they're seeking out this label when they're making their shopping decisions. Because again, we have 200 members and tens of thousands of products now that bear this logo.
That's super, and that is November
19th.
19th. Okay. Will you have things like that on your website about?
Yep.
So people can research it.
AmericanMadeMatters.com. We have a short video that tells a story about why it matters, and it also shows all of our members.
Great. Tell me, let's talk a little bit about how the company has evolved over the years. And you did something really special to tell the history that I saw out front in one of your cabinets. So can you kind of go into detail on that?
Right. So again, we've got 145 years of great heritage and hat making tradition. So to recognize that heritage, we created a collection of hats that represent one hat for each decade, beginning with the 1860s all the way up to current. And we created a men's collection and a women's collection, again, one hat for each decade. And so those hats are very different from one another. And we tell the story about what was going on here at the factory, as well as in America and in fashion, and why that hat was relevant during that decade in the history of the company. The early goings of the company, we were very focused on building manufacturing capabilities, acquiring other companies that were hat makers, and diversifying our ability to make different types of hats. About 25 years ago, we started to build brands, because we were previously selling private label only, and we had, really we were an anonymous U.S. hat maker, and we needed to establish our own brand identities to try to really control our future, and so we put this diversified portfolio of brands together that appeal to different age groups, different demographics, different genders, different price points, to try to create a good future for our company and our employee owners.
And you've been part of the company for a number of years, so you've helped this all along. When did you start with the company?
I started on January 2nd, 1982. So
I remember
I was
the
a young
day.
guy then, and now I'm one of the old guys.
Perfect. Do you have a favorite hat through all that?
Well, I love wearing this pinch front, large brim. I've got a fairly large face, so this is my preferred style here.
Oh,
And, where that's
there you
down.
go.
So
Very nice.
That's my look. But younger people are wearing hats in greater numbers again. This is a hat that has a fairly narrow brim in the back and a larger brim in the front. And here,
you know what? I have a 20-year-old son, and I agree. They're starting to go out and look for hats. I mean, we had just talked about it the other day. So it's
music to my ears. So here's a great younger style, really stingy brim, typically worn up. And so some stars like Justin Timberlake and Bruno Mars and those kinds of folks, we have a license with Neo, wear this kind of style and influencing fashion for younger people. So people wear hats for fashion, fun, and function. The function would be for sun protection and prevent melanoma, which as our population ages, they become more mindful of. From a
Very
fashion
important.
perspective, we have all kinds of shapes and new shapes for young men and young women, and hopefully that influences a whole new generation of hat wearers.
Absolutely. So you have, as you have people out there with your different private labels, you have different designers located
That's right.
worldwide.
Yeah, that's right. We have a designer here who works primarily on the private label and the Western or cowboy hats that we make. We also have in New York several designers that are involved in one or more of our brands. So our Bailey designer, our Betmar designer, our Kangol designer are based in New York. And then we have a brand, Helen Kaminsky, which is a Australian brand that we acquired in 2007. It's high-end women's hats and bags, and those designers are based in Sydney, Australia, where that brand was founded 30 years ago.
So is there any other products that you make besides a hat?
We have made several other products over the years. We made maple syrup filters. We made discs for the military and scopes. We're just experimenting with some new products. This is
the old phone covers.
Yep.
And
This would be a phone cover that we've just created here. We've yet to take it to market, but we've just created it.
and it still has the American Made Matters logo on it.
Betcha.
Perfect.
We could do that, obviously labeled with any company's individual brand identity. This would be an iPad cover made with wool felt in a one-piece operation. And of course, we're going to be offering these in different colors for teams and school. And then we have laptop covers as well.
And laptop covers.
Yep.
Well, you have to change with the way the world's changing, right, after all these years.
Yep, it's time to innovate, and it's always been part of our culture is to be ahead and always looking at innovation. We're working on with Mantech, an innovation engineering process right now where we have a number of our employee owners who are looking for new opportunities to use our factory and make new products to help perpetuate what we have here.
Oh, it's changing and growing and moving forward. That's perfect. Okay, Don, so you have some other marketing initiatives that are on the horizon.
That's right.
Can you go into those a little bit?
Absolutely. So we were approached by J. Crew, which is a very well-known and highly regarded retailer, who came to us, sought us out because they wanted to do a collaboration on a new hat line, and they wanted it to be American made. So we worked with J. Crew's designers, and we created a hat. It's kind of a safari shape in navy with their name in it as well as our Bailey name. And that is just going to be hitting stores in the next few weeks. They've already come back and placed 2 reorders because their staff were so enamored with this great hat that they decided to distribute it throughout their European stores as well as offering it in more of their U.S. stores. So a great collaboration with J. Crew. They sought us out because of the quality and heritage.
What a great testimony for them to be able to come to you.
That's right.
You know you're doing something right.
Exactly. And we're also working with Samuel L. Jackson. We've created a line of golf headwear. He's a great, passionate golfer. With our Kangol brand, and it's a co-branded with Samuel L. Jackson Golf and Kangol, and that's hitting stores now as well for the golf portion of our business.
Will that be felt? Will that be a felt
No,
hat?
those will be cut and sewn as well as knitted caps.
Oh, okay.
They're not made here, but they're part of what we market throughout the U.S. and Europe and Asia.
Don, you had mentioned that the Bollman Hat Company is an ESOP, an employee-owned company. I am pro-business, and I love to hear that. Can you go into detail what that means, and for the public when they're out there watching?
Absolutely. So an employee stock ownership plan is a retirement plan that invests primarily in the shares of the sponsoring company. In our case, we're a privately held company, so you couldn't go out and buy shares in Bollman Hat Company on the stock market. But all of our employee owners who are U.S. based, this doesn't pertain outside the U.S. Unfortunately, other countries don't have ESOP legislation, but all of our U.S. employees become owners of our company through our employee stock ownership plan after they've been with us for at least 6 months as of the beginning of a year. To me, it's meaningful, not just because that's our primary retirement vehicle for our employee owners, but it's also creates this mindset of ownership and culture, and don't we all protect what we own more than something maybe that we don't own?
Absolutely.
So it creates this incentive that I think permeates throughout our organization and really is part of the culture and why we've been here so long, and that has to do with being owners of our business.
And the jobs here vary greatly. from those who are doing the accounting to those who are doing the work. Is there specialized? I mean, must the employees have any certain types of training? So go
Yeah.
into the different types of jobs
Yeah.
that you created.
So the jobs that we have here that we're trying to sustain, and at some point we had over 1,000 employees that were making hats here in Pennsylvania, and today it's down to under 200. But these jobs are highly skilled jobs in many cases that take, in some cases, 6-8 months before you really can master those skills. It's many cases hand-operated machines. There's no robotics or automation,
So
as you'll
it's-
see in the tour.
I'm
It's
excited to
very
see that.
hands-on and very labor-intensive and quite skilled. And these employees, in some cases, have been with us for 30 and 40 years. One of the concerns that I have is perpetuating those job skills. And one of our challenges is finding young people who we can train and want to come into these kinds of jobs and continue this business for many years to come. So one of those challenges really is about how can we afford to hire and train and create this apprenticeship program. And many other manufacturers are faced with this same dilemma when they're trying to figure out how to get new people involved in making hats and using their hands for manufacturing jobs in this country.
Yeah, but it's obviously a great job. I mean, again, testimony is that people have stayed for years and years, and generation after generation. So.
That's right. Yeah, they're not glamorous jobs. In some cases, the factory jobs are you're working in a hot factory during the summer months, and there's a pace to try to make the
keep
hats
up, right.
profitably. But people seem to love it and do really well with it.
And people like hands-on, so it's good work.
It's great to see something come together. Like, you can see the product being made, and you're a part of that, and that creates great pride in the product.
That's great. What do you see in the next 5 years in the future? I mean, is there, I know you're working with other entities, but is there anything else on the horizon that you see coming up?
Well, we're always looking to innovate. So as I spoke earlier, we're trying to find new products to innovate that are made in this factory. We're also involved in brand building and trying to launch our brands in other countries, emerging countries that have the wherewithal to buy U.S.-made brands. We don't compete at the low end of the market. We compete at the mid to upper tiers of the market because of the high costs and what's involved in the detailing of our products. So we've got to find markets like Brazil, for example, and Russia, where there's a growing need and interest for American-made brands and a willingness and an ability to pay for some of those brands. So key initiative is to launch our brands in targeted countries where we're not in currently, and also to continue our innovation project, which I spoke about earlier, so that we can offer new and innovative products and always lead the way, not just with hats, but bags and other accessories as well.
Perfect. Well, I would love if you would take us on a tour of the factory so we could see
Great.
hands-on exactly how the job is done here.
Let's do it.
So, Don, we're starting our tour here in the Karting Department. So I need a little background. There's a lot of great wool going on here. So tell me what's happening.
Okay, we're starting here with wool that has already been scoured and carbonized. So the wool is very clean at this point. It's been blended and it's ready to be carded. And so what we're doing in carding is we're combing the fibers, aligning them to create a web, and that web will form two hats at the end of this carding machine. So this is what it looks like when it's clean. The wool progresses through this machine gradually, being taken up by the rolls here. The wool is weighed and dropped in. The rolls gradually start to pick up the fiber. You can see the rolls are covered with a steel wire that are first very coarse and then very fine, and that allows the machine to gradually start to take those fibers up and to form the web, and that web is going to be necessary to form a hat at the end of this machine. We then move over to what's called hardening. This is done in a two-stage operation, so the very tip of the hat has been hardened in the last stage, and now we're hardening both sides. So what Kay is doing is she inserts a non-woven material inside the hat. We harden one, and then it opens up. She removes that material, flips the hat, reinserts it so that we can get the other side. So it's done in a two-step process to get the entire circumference of the hat. This is one of the...
Do they use heat to do that?
There's steam coming up from these carborundum stones, and the steam and vibration is compressing the fibers, which allows the hat to withstand the wet processing that will take place in the next department. As you can see, with the very fluffy nature of this hat, it would tear apart if it was subjected to water, and we need that water to promote the felting process. So this hardening process is compressing and starting the felting so that it can withstand the wet processing where most of the felting will take place. So once the hat has been hardened, we hold it up to a light booth to make sure there are no defects in the product, any soft spots. We are able to patch some of it if necessary at this stage. What we want to make sure is that the quality is within tolerance at each step along the way. So we do an examining right at the beginning. That's right. If we don't control the process at each step along the way, we end up with a lot of variation on the end, and our customers want consistency. We're now ready for the wet processing, which is the next step.
Let me ask you something while we're here. Is this the technology? Is this the way they used to do it years ago? I mean...
Yep, absolutely. Not much has changed along the way. There's some automation, again, that has been done with our own internal engineering and machine shop, but for the most part, the processes remain unchanged for over 100 years.
Well, quality. That's why you've been making quality hats for so long.
Yep.
Great.
We're ready for wet processing.
All right, we're in the next process. This is called the...
Fulling department, Fulling.
Okay.
It's where the felting takes place. So what we're doing at this operation, which is called white multi rolling, is we're putting the hats on a belt. It travels through the machine where it gets subjected to warm water, the rubberized rolls that are oscillating, and that pressure and water compresses the fibers and starts to lock them together and shrinking. So what we want to achieve here is about 20% shrink from the start to the finish of this operation. This toughens up the hat and it enables it to withstand the more aggressive felting operation that's going to take place in the next step, where we'll get it down to its final size.
This looks like a washing machine.
That's right. Yeah, this is called bumping, and it is what it sounds like. We are literally bumping the hats. The hats will stay in here for up to 2 hours. For about 2 hours. So this is a very aggressive felting where it's basically hammering the hats very randomly as they circulate in a basket, and we're going to get this hat down to its final size.
This is going to come out to this size.
That's right, yep.
Okay.
So now we're almost down to what the final size of the hat's going to look like, but we're going to have to block it and dye it and do a number of sanding and finishing operations to finish the hat.
So every hat we saw so far was going to be white, but obviously we change colors a lot. Tell me about this room.
Okay, this is our dye house. So our dye manager is able to match any color that you might send us to the exact shade of what you desire. So
there certain teams or certain colors of your school,
Yep.
we can match them and get them exact.
Absolutely, and so there's always fashion colors each season. These are the trending colors for this season. This year it might be cobalt blue, for example. So our dye house decides on what the recipe of dye stuffs will be necessary to achieve that color, and then we use these rotary dye kettles where there's 4 sections to this drum. The hats, a mill of hats can go into each section, so you can get 4 mills or 400 pounds.
Right.
The rotary kettle goes under into the dye liquor in this bath. We have the dye tub open now. We would have it closed during the process, obviously. And it might stay in here for 2 hours of the cycle until it reaches its desired penetration and exact color.
Okay, now we have our black hats. So what are we doing at this process?
Well, after the dyeing process, the hats open up a little bit in that dye bath, and so what we need to do is just tighten them up and get them back to the final size. So this is called color multi-rolling, and we're feeding a belt again. It's a shorter process. It won't stay in here long, but it's just tightening the hat and getting it back to its final size. Well, there can be 90 steps involved from start to finish in making a wool felt hat. This happens to be a hat body that has been blocked out, and in this case, it's called a mix or a melange, where we've pre-dyed the fibers before we card it and create different color effects to create this mix or melange look.
That
and
is
so you can
absolutely
see,
beautiful.
as opposed to solid dyeing in the dye house, which we last visited. And then this operation right here is called pulling. And what we're doing here at pulling is we are starting to press out the crown of the hat. It's in a specific head size and a specific oval. We've created the crown depth and the brim width in this pulling operation. And what Jerry's doing here is he's marking the head size on this particular hat. So the visual is we go from this stage to this stage in this operation.
One area.
That's right. And now we finally have the exact size of the crown, the head size of the hat, and the brim width, and we're going to trim off this brim and block this into a final form in the very next stage. We're now in the finish hat department, and we're ready to do the finishing touches. So we have pressed this hat into the crown and brim shape that you see here. Mm-hmm. This is actually being made for the popular TV show Breaking Bad.
And the way they use these stands look like they are years and years old.
That's right. These are hot blocks that are used to press out the sweatband inside the hat to make it smooth. And this is called a pork pie. And this is a popular shape that goes back to the 1930s. And it's been resurrected, and it's another style that's being worn by young people today.
TV shows will make all the difference for you.
That's right. Celebrities make for fashion.
Absolutely.
So then we go on to the very last operation here. This is the final inspection. So what we're doing is we're steaming the hat off to take any shiny marks that might have occurred during the pressing operation or the flanging operation where we set the brim. And we do a final inspection, so she's looking to make sure that all the threads are trimmed and that the hat looks just perfect before it goes in the box and ready to go to our customer. This is our Bailey style called the Tino. This is our best-selling Bailey hat, and this happens to be a pinstripe gray color. We're ready for the final consumer.
I'm telling you, I'm just so impressed with the hands-on. I mean, you're really here, and it's not automated. You're here working, and the people are working, and they are taking pride in what they do. You can see it throughout the whole factory. That's all the time we have today for our legislative report. I do appreciate you, Don, very much taking the time to show us the little factory that stays and stays and stays here in the middle of Adamstown. So I'm so proud of you. And as we walk through, I notice you know everybody's name in the factory, and that's what it's all about. That's a great business. If you have any questions, you can always contact me on my webpage or my Facebook account. Feel free to follow me on my Facebook account, or you can call the office. I have an office in the Denver area and one in Manheim Borough also. So the numbers will be up on the screen, but I thank you very much for joining us today at the Bollman Hat Factory. Thank you.